Rethinking Bone Health, Calcium versus Silica. This was an article I found on the internet. It was posted on January 19th, 2011. And it's a good article that I think is important for people to hear. If you grew up in America, chances are you were told and probably believe that you need to drink a lot of milk to build healthy, strong bones. As Americans, we certainly take that advice to heart and are one of the top consumers of dairy products in the world. Consider these facts. The average daily calcium intake for South African blacks is 196 milligrams, whereas the daily calcium intake for African Americans is more than 1,000 milligrams. Yet, the hip fracture rate for African Americans compared to South African blacks is 9 times greater. US and in Northern Europe have high levels of osteoporotic fracture despite high intakes of dietary calcium. The African Bantu consumes an average of 350 milligrams of calcium per day. The current recommendations for Americans is about 1,000 milligrams per day, yet do not have calcium deficiency, seldom break a bone, and rarely lose a tooth. And that's African Bantus who are only consuming about 350 milligrams of calcium per day, which is far less than what Americans are told to consume. Native Eskimos have the highest dietary intake of any other people in the world, about 2,000 milligrams per day from fish bones, and the highest rate of osteoporosis worldwide. A 12-year Harvard study of 78,000 women, those who got the most calcium from dairy products actually broke more bones than women who rarely drank milk. A 1994 study in the American Journal of Epidemiology found that elderly women with the highest dairy consumption had double the risk of hip fracture of those with the lowest consumption. Staggering facts. Let me get to the second page. Alright. Study after study supports the facts that the countries with the highest calcium consumption also have the highest rates of osteoporosis. So what's the deal? There are a number of potential reasons. The protein argument. Excessive amounts of protein cause calcium wasting. Dairy adds to your already overinflated protein intake. Studies show that when protein consumption is increased, while other minerals stay the same, the amount of calcium in urine increases by 50%. More protein equals more calcium loss. Then there's the pH argument. Dairy is highly acid, and there's evidence that when the body is out of balance, dipping below a 7 pH, it begins to leach minerals, including calcium, to neutralize blood pH levels. Just about everything we eat on the Western diet is acidic. Alkalizing foods, which keep our pH in balance, include fresh, whole living fruits and vegetables, something that Americans do not eat. So how do vegans and vegetarians stack up? Studies are somewhat inconclusive. The latest studies show that vegans have a lower bone mineral density, but not necessarily a high rate of fracture. Lacto-ovo vegetarians take in similar amounts of calcium, but do not lower the amounts of overall protein, and some studies have shown a stronger bone mineral density with a lower amount of fractures. But no matter if you're a vegan or carnivore, it's clear that calcium is not the answer. The solution may be a never talked about mineral called silica. Silica exists in bones, hair, skin, as well as kidneys, blood, brain, and other areas. Silica is vital to providing strength and support to these structures. In fact, in 1939, the Nobel Prize winner for chemistry, Professor Adolf Butenandt, I don't know if I pronounced his name right, but proved that life cannot exist without silica. Silica helps redeposit minerals, such as calcium, into our bones and stop the leaching of minerals. Amazingly, silica also has the ability to morph itself into calcium, so if a calcium deficiency exists, silica can step in and assume that role. I recently read a very interesting comparison of concrete and bone. Concrete contains calcium, but does not get hard and strong without the inclusion of silica. Concrete that was devoid of silica did harden, but was brittle and weak. Can this be the same with our bones? Yes. Dr. Edith Karlsel, a research scientist at the UCLA School of Public Health, studied silica extensively in the 1970s. Her research was conclusive that silica played an essential role in bone formation and health. She found that without silica, it was impossible to grow healthy, strong bone. The next logical question, other than why our government ignores the value of silica, is where can you get this stuff? Good sources are horsetail and bamboo silica extract. David Wolf recommends a tea of horsetail, nettle, comfrey, and bone sap for bone health. Other sources include leafy greens, root vegetables, and oats. And then at the end says, got milk? Never. So, hopefully now you guys have a clear understanding that it's not the consumption of milk that attributes to strong bones. In fact, it's just the opposite. People that are drinking the most milk, animal milk, are having large amounts of osteoporosis. And also, we learned from this argument that excessive protein intake is not good for our bones. And also, we've learned from this that silica, and not calcium, is a major important nutrient that we need in order to have healthy bones. So, with this information, make sure you apply these things to your life so that you can have healthy, strong bones. And if you like this video, please like, favorite, and subscribe. Thanks.